Welcome in, folks, to the round of 32 Betting Pros round of 32 March Madness live stream. What an amazing first 2 days we had. We have to relax, we have to reflect, we have to be ready to attack the games again today. Fantastic matchups here for the next 2 days. Round of 32, we are cutting down the teams and getting to that Sweet 16, which we love so much. It's been an amazing tournament, and last night was certainly no exception. We had games across the board. We had last second battles. How about Chattanooga? Leading from start to finish, but Illinois pulling out the victory at the end. And we had some nice hits with some picks, especially TCU. Gosh, TCU all over Seton Hall and Miami beating USC. So it was a good day there. Let's see if we can back it up again today as we get into each one of the games. Don't forget, download the BettingPros app to track all your picks. My picks go in there as well. You can see how you do. Keep track of it. It's a fantastic app. And make sure to visit the website, bettingpros.com. Follow all the picks and analysis. We have articles all over the place to give you a little bit of an advantage so you can make your picks, spreads, over-unders, and today we'll add some player props as well at the end of the segment. Make sure to hit the like button on YouTube and put your questions in the chat, and we will get to them throughout the entire process here today. Fantastic games. It's really my favorite week here. You have this week, you have the first two games, first 2 days, and then you end up having fantastic games today and tomorrow. College basketball center stage. What could be better? Yes, folks, as we always say, here we go. First game, number 1 Baylor minus 5.5 versus number 8 North Carolina. Now, the theme that I've seen so far with the wagering, the money and the bets coming in, is that people are knee-jerk reacting to what happened. They are piling on the underdogs across the board. And quite frankly, I'm going to be going the other way on many of these picks. This is one of the more popular upsets. Usually a 1 seed over the last decade has been eliminated by about 20% going into the Sweet 16. So we rarely get all 4. Usually one of them goes. This will be the popular upset with Baylor, which was the weakest of the number 1 seeds. I am actually going to go with Baylor laying the 5.5 points minus 110 on DraftKings. Here's why. The Tar Heels have earned victories in 9 of their last 11 games. They beat Duke in that big game, Coach K's last regular season game. But this is a much harder level of opponent than the Tar Heels have faced in months. The last time North Carolina really faced a team as battle-tested as Baylor with the defense and the offensive battle, and the offensive attack, and they've been able to shoot threes with Adam Flagler and play defense and disrupt the offense, was back on December 18th against Kentucky. They lost that game by 29 points. I'm not going to count a game here against Duke, which is a rivalry. It's in the ACC. And quite frankly, I don't exactly know how good Duke was. They got a big on Cal State Fullerton and did not cover on that last shot there. So this is a different caliber team. I know they don't have LJ Cryer, their leading scorer. I don't think it matters. Baylor is top 8 in adjusted offensive efficiency, top 12 in adjusted defensive efficiency per Ken Pom. Bears were 17-15-1 against the spread, but they have covered in 3 of their last 4 games. Experience matters. This is a team that won the national title last year, that is battle-tested, that has a great coach in Scott Drew, and quite frankly, I think North Carolina is playing a little bit above where they've been most of the year. Great job by Hubert Davis. Team is peaking at the right time. Armando Bacot should definitely get some rebounds inside. That's a little spoiler alert for one of our props later. But overall, I think they still have enough firepower here with Baylor to move forward on North Carolina. I think they're better balanced. I think they're great on the boards. I think they're going to be able to run to get out, and they do guard the three-point line. Baylor allowing only 29.7% to opponents from three-point range. That's 18th overall. This North Carolina team can go through streaks where they really struggle, and they want to hit the 3. They're shooting 36% from beyond the arc. Players like Brady Manick, Caleb Love. And Brady Manick is someone who really has to get into a groove and can get pushed off the spot a little bit and really not have an impact. You remember him with Oklahoma, struggling against physical teams. So our first bet here, we're going with Baylor, the favorite. Even though the majority of bets and money are coming in on North Carolina, we're going to move forward with Baylor. Second game, number 1 Kansas minus 11.5 versus number 9 Creighton. This number has been back and forth. It may be down to 10 depending where you see it. Look, Creighton has done a fantastic job. Coach McDermott, when he lost Ryan Nembhard as his point guard, has readjusted. Trey Alexander has really stepped up as a freshman and played well. But the loss of your point guard and losing Ryan Kalkbrenner, the defensive player of the year in the Big East, is too much against Kansas. It is amazing. I said this to you last 2 days. How is Kansas underrated? How is Kansas not getting enough credit coming into this tournament? It's almost like this Kansas fatigue. People like Gonzaga, people like Arizona. No one's talking about the Jayhawks here, and all they've done is gone about their business. Creighton really should have lost to San Diego State, whose offense was anemic down the stretch. It was a great comeback there, defeating the Aztecs 72-69 in overtime after trailing by as many as 14 points in the first half of that game. However, they lost Kalkbrenner. They're going to struggle inside. They don't have a point guard. Alexander made some shots in the second half, but you're not going to be able to do this to a Kansas team that has scored big wins throughout the year. You're going to have great three-pointers from Braun. Ochai Agbaji is going to be the best player on the floor. McCormick inside. Bill Self on the sidelines. What else would you want here? Kansas minus 11.5. I will lay the points against Creighton. I know we have the proximity rivalry, and Creighton has been frisky. I just don't think Alex O'Connell and group can step up when they lost their center and lost their point guard. It's a big number, but I'm laying it again, laying it with the Jayhawks here in the second game. Make sure to get those questions in the chat. Put them in. We can talk about over-unders. We can end up talking about sides, and props will be at the end. Third game, Rocky Mountaintop, Tennessee, -6 against number 11, Michigan. There's a lot of support here for Tennessee, and this is one of the games I'm going to support the favorite on. Tennessee's defense has been lights out. They really, along with Arizona, have been one of the hottest teams coming into the tournament this year. They have played fantastic basketball. They won the SEC tournament. They won 9 of their last 10 games. Only game they lost was away at Arkansas, who's still alive in this tournament. And they destroyed the comfortable cover, like I told you, against Longwood. Their defense is superior. They've played a tremendously difficult schedule, and they beat Arizona as well. I understand Michigan got hot there against Colorado State, but let's not forget that Michigan was also down 15 points. The Wolverines, people are going to like them because of last year. They're going to talk about recency, and they'll be able to get it together and win one for Juwan Howard. I just don't see it. Devontae Jones should play in this game. He was out against Colorado State, but how effective is he going to be coming off a concussion? I don't know. Volunteers have held each of their last 4 opponents to 62 points or fewer. Michigan's defensive numbers this year are not great. I've been fading them for a big profit since that first game against Buffalo, especially on the interior. The Wolverines have allowed their opponents to shoot 53% on the inside. Hunter Dickinson was able to dominate Colorado State. David Roddy, who we love, Mountain West Player of the Year for the Rams, little undersized. That's not happening today against the Volunteers. Michigan advanced against Colorado State despite shooting 4 of 14 from three-point range. That's 28%. That is not happening today against the Volunteers defense. They're on lockdown. Tennessee gets up early and just continues on here. They would need a monumental game from players like Eli Brooks, and I just don't think they're going to get it. And the Vols defense is going to bother Hunter Dickinson. That's why we like Tennessee laying the points. It's 6 right now. I'm fine with that. -110 on DraftKings. So the first few picks here, Baylor as a favorite, Kansas as a favorite, Tennessee as a favorite. So you're saying, how many favorites are you going to pick? Well, let's change it up right now. Next game, number 4 Providence versus number 12 Richmond. This number is now at 3. I am grabbing it at 3. The Spiders are on fire, winning 2 comeback games en route to the A10 title and a 67-63 outright win as a 9.5 point underdog versus Iowa. I did not like them against Iowa. I was wrong, folks. Jacob Gilyard, the point guard for the Richmond Spiders, the senior, got a chance to interview him. Great, fantastic player, good kid, came back with the seniors to take care of unfinished business. They should have made the tournament 2 years ago. It was closed because of COVID. Last year, they didn't make it. They had a disappointing year. They've all come back. Gilyard is an animal. He is the NCAA all-time steals leader at the point guard position, 13.6 points per game, and he's been averaging a lot more here in the NCAA tournament. Their best player, the Spiders, is junior Tyler Burton, 16.5 points, 8 rebounds per game, super consistent, 12 points or more in 6 straight. I have watched Providence. I have loved Providence, went to see him at the Big East tournament. Great job by Ed Cooley and the Friars. And I don't want to hear about their luck metric. They've won close games, but they have not had to deal with a team that has a solid guard like Gilliard who can attack the basket and can disrupt their offense. He's going to be all over Al Durham today. Jared Bynum's going to have to make some shots. The Spiders are going to be able to be tough on him. And Nate Watson inside for Providence is the key. If you're picking Providence, you like Nate Watson inside. Nate Watson scored a ton of points in the Big East tournament. Very odd, however, only about 5.5 rebounds per game. Not your typical back to the basket big. And if Providence has to go to their backup, Ed Croswell, that's a huge advantage for the Spiders as well. So we are taking the Richmond Spiders here, +3, -115 on FanDuel to keep it going. The magic of the 12 seed will keep it going. Let's see here. We got a couple questions. Matt's asking us, we will see the number 1 overall seed Gonzaga go down to Memphis today. We will get to that game shortly. You will not be seeing that, Matt. I can tell you. Gonzaga is going to be moving on. Elliot asked, would you rather have a team playing well or a star player carrying the team? That's a great question, Elliot. I think you need to have that go-to player at the end of games because as we advance through the tournament, you're not going up and down the floor. You have to be close. You have to make tight shots, which is why I like Richmond. Providence's go-to guy is Jarrett Bynum, who's made deep three after deep three. Gilliard is not letting that happen today. Gilliard can penetrate, he can dish, he can attack. They have three-point shooters all over the place. So I tend to lean at this point with that star player who's hot, which ties into why I'm taking Richmond. Next up, game 5, number 4, UCLA versus number 5, St. Mary's. Look, I was wrong about the Gales. They destroyed Indiana. I think that had more to say about Indiana than it did about St. Mary's. So now you're playing a UCLA team coming off the Final Four from last year, and you're going to battle them in a half-court game. St. Mary's is going to want to slow the pace in this game. They are 338th in adjusted tempo. Tommy Kuzi, Matthias Tass inside. They are outmatched. Indiana was tired. Indiana just looked lifeless. And quite frankly, Indiana's been up and down, but you're playing a different UCLA team here. Everyone is on the Gales. The money, the bets are all over the Gales. We are going in the other direction. This line is too low. I understand that UCLA was tested by Akron, but how many times in the tournament have we seen a team struggle in round 1 and then end up getting hot? You're going to go in the half court, and St. Mary's wants to make you shoot contested 2-point shots. Johnny Juzang, Jaime Jaquez, that's their strength. That's what they do. And Cody Riley, the big man inside, is going to do a lot more in the interior against Matthias Tass. I have tremendous respect for Randy Bennett and what the Gales have done. They beat Gonzaga this year. They're currently 26-7. Fantastic job. But they've struggled in the non-conference, couldn't beat Wisconsin, couldn't beat Colorado State. They did beat Notre Dame by 3 on a neutral early on. I think they play at a pace that UCLA is comfortable playing with, and they've done last year on their way to the Final Four. So I'm taking the Bruins. Somehow the Bruins, despite all their players coming back, are a small favorite today and are not getting the money. I'm taking UCLA over St. Mary's today as the 5th pick. Another question here. Does Villanova revolve around the three-point game too much? This is what I'll say to that one. Villanova is dangerous because they've started to develop the same profile that they have in their last 2 national championship games. They have a veteran team. They're making 2-pointers. They're getting to the line, and they make their free throws. I think, Matt, the issue there is that they did in the beginning of the year rely on their threes too much, but their 2-point percentage is rising. If you look at it over the last few games, they're playing just like a Jay Wright team does down the stretch, where they end up being better from 2-point range, which is really their bread and butter. They were 52.2% from inside the arc this year. And of course, you got to love a Villanova team that shoots 84% from the line. Next pick, Gonzaga and Memphis. Look, Memphis did a wonderful job against Boise State, but I took a different take with that game. Boise State closed that deficit in the second half against Memphis. Why? Because Memphis does what Memphis does. It turns the ball over. It can't make free throws. And they let Boise State, who was horrific from offense to start the game, get back into the game. The Zags are not going to do that. People love Memphis. I have seen this line get down to about 9.5 right now. I am all over the Zags in this game. I understand the length of Memphis, but you're going against a disciplined Mark Few coach team that has made 2 finals in the last 4 to 5 years. They're going in with the 352nd ranked offensive turnover rate. They turn the ball over a ton. They're not great from the free throw line. People are excited because Amani Bates is back, who's got to be the best bench player in the history of the tournament. He could be a top 5 pick, but I'm not buying it. I like the Zags. I like them getting to the foul line. They could end up pushing around, Drew Timme inside a little bit, Chet Holmgren, but I think the Zags do too much overall to get tripped up here. If you want to look for a line with Memphis, I would take them in the first half because I think once this game gets close in the second half, Memphis is not going to turn the Zags over. It's not going to happen. Not with a steady team that they have. They are top 34 in the country in offensive turnover rate, and they were number 1 in the West Coast Conference. They shot 41% from three-point range in conference. They shot 60% on the interior, and Gonzaga, with that interior defense, holding opponents to just 40% inside the arc. Memphis has to hit some threes. Memphis has to not turn the ball over. Not going to happen. We are taking Gonzaga here, laying the 9.5 points, minus 115 on DK. I like that it got under 10. If you really love Memphis, my only thing I would consider is a first half line with them getting about 6, depending on where it is right now. I am staying with the Zags and laying the points. Next, Murray State versus St. Peter's. Boy, that was a tremendous game. Murray State, San Francisco, Jamari Boye hitting step back after step back, a la Jordan Crawford from Xavier years ago, if you remember that game. Murray State versus St. Peter's. That was a fantastic matchup for Murray State, but this team's a little tired right now, and I don't want to step in front of the bus that is St. Peter's. The defense that Shaheen Holloway has the Peacocks playing is legit. They have players inside like Casey and Defo, who's going to block shots. Darryl Banks was scalding hot in that game. And Doug Eckert, the favorite mustache player that we have here in the tournament, banging threes. I think St. Peter's slows this game down. Murray State can get a little helter-skelter turning the ball over here. So I like Murray State to advance, but 8.5 is way too much. St. Peter's reminds me a lot of Oral Roberts from last year, where people just weren't believing. This is a good St. Peter's team with Shaheen Holloway. He's done an excellent job in the Metro Athletic Conference for the last 4 years. They struggled last year with COVID, which is why they were under the radar, but this is a team that has played some decent programs in the non-conference, like VCU, who they only lost by 3, and that was a true road game. St. John's, Providence, and that was a big win over Kentucky. I don't see why Murray State, who I love, is laying 8.5 points to the Peacocks here. They're going to slow it down. They're going to make their threes. They're not going to be intimidated by the athleticism of Murray State because they just beat Kentucky, and they held Kentucky in that game, really locked them down from beyond the arc, held the Wildcats to just 4 of 15 from beyond the arc. I think they do a great job today. I think Murray State was cramping all over the place. So the Peacocks, one of my few underdogs today, getting 8.5 here against Murray State. And my last game, Arkansas versus New Mexico State. We liked New Mexico State on the live stream because of their rebounding ability against UConn. UConn was one of those teams that were up and down this year that really wasn't fantastic. And so we ended up going with New Mexico State, and that was a fantastic win. But in this matchup, what New Mexico State was able to do was to bully them on the boards. You're going against an Arkansas team that I believe, and I put out on social media there, follow me on Twitter at Randle Rant, I think Arkansas is playing for the Final Four against Vermont. They got past that game. I don't think they get tripped up here. Arkansas wants to run. J.D. Notae got in foul trouble. They escaped that. They had some Chris Likes coming off the bench, the former point guard from Miami. He can do some nice things here against New Mexico State. Jalen Williams inside. Devontae Davis, who was fantastic last year. New Mexico State, great job in the WAC, in the Western Athletic Conference under Chris Jans. I think it ends here, folks. Nice win over Connecticut. Arkansas is a different level. They could absolutely beat Gonzaga. So I am going here with Arkansas, and I am laying the points minus 6.5. Last game of the night here as we get ready for the Sweet 16, minus 105 on DK. Make sure to get those questions in the chat. I just want to finish up and do some player props for you, some player props that you may want to look at today across the board. First one up, Trey Alexander. You can get Trey Alexander under 12.5 points, minus 125 on DK. I like that pick a lot. Like I said, Kansas is going to be up, pressuring Creighton. Alexander as the point guard. He's going to have some struggles. At 12.5, that's just a little too high for me. The juice is high at minus 125, but I like that as well. Another one that I saw that you can get plus money on is Chet Holmgren under 10.5 rebounds at plus money, plus 105 on DraftKings. You're going against Memphis. Now, Memphis is going to rebound the ball. Timmy's going to be inside. Holmgren may try to hit some threes. I question whether Holmgren's going to get 11 rebounds today. That seems like a lot against an athletic front line that they really haven't seen in quite a while. I'm going to go under on Chet Holmgren because I'm getting plus 105 money. Maybe he gets 8 or 9, but 10.5, he needs 11 to beat me. I don't like that as well. Jacob Gilliard's assist is over 3.5 on DraftKings, minus 135, folks. Jacob Gilliard. If I like Richmond, Jacob Gilliard is getting over 3.5 assists today. The juice is a little high, minus 135, but I will take that as well. And on the flip side here, Al Durham for Providence under 3.5 assists, minus 110 on DraftKings as well. Gilliard will be all over Al Durham. And what happens in the second half of Providence games is Jared Bynum takes over the point guard position. Durham goes to the corner to hit some threes. He had a big three against Butler. They do some different things on offense when the game slows down. Durham attacks the basket late. He's not exactly the greatest creator in offense. Him and Bynum split the point guard duties. So with Gilliard harassing him, I like the under there at only minus 110. And my last one here, Armando Bacot. I think Armando Bacot is going to get a lot of rebounds against Baylor, offensive and defensive. That's the weakness of the zone. It's 12.5. So Bacot's got to get 13. I'm going with it at minus 105 on DK as well. So there are some props for you there. Let's see. Do you like any over-unders? Maybe on Tennessee. Thanks for the question, Jackson. I'll take a look here. If you're looking at your over-unders on today's game, what I would try to target is try to think about how the game is going to go. So, for example, UNC Baylor is at 148.5. I'm not touching that because UNC is going to want to run and get up the court. Kansas Creighton. Creighton is not hitting their threes at their normal rate. They're at 139.5. That is when I would look to the under, because if you're Coach McDermott, you can't run up and down the floor with Kansas without a point guard and without a center. So I think the Blue Jays are really going to slow down. That's an under there that I like a lot. If you're looking at the Tennessee game, 136.5 with Michigan, yeah, I have no problem with that. Tennessee's going to lock down. You have to think Michigan is going to have to bring their best defense as well. Tennessee can go through some spurts where they're not scoring also. So 136.5, I'm seeing it on DK. I think that's a reasonable play as well. It's up a little bit from the 135, but if you're looking at like a 70 to 64 game, you would win. You want them to cover 70 to 63. I think that's totally reasonable. I don't think both teams get over 65 today, so I think that's a reasonable look as well. Another one that I looked at, and the old adage, right, is true. Always go over the highest total that you see and always go under the lowest one. How about an under for UCLA and St. Mary's at 126? Both teams would have to get to 60. And I get about 65 to beat me there. I'm not sure about that. St. Mary's really controls that pace, and UCLA is comfortable doing so. So there's one as well. Been hearing, David saying, been hearing Baylor over is good, but what do I know? Baylor is going to end up being hot today. I get that. I just think that UNC inside with Bacot is going to get rebounds, and Baylor locks down the threes. So my issue is that I don't know if UNC is going to generate a lot of points from three-point range, and that you can't slice and dice that zone. So I think it's going to be a lot of dump-ins. I think it's close. Both teams could go up and down the floor. It's getting up to 149.5. Maybe you get over 150 in the next 30 minutes or so. That's one I'm not really sure about, but if you have to go one way or another, I think it's interesting, and it's always good to fade the public. Folks, thanks so much. Make sure to hit like. We'll be back tomorrow on the same channel, same bad time, same bad channel, 11 o'clock to talk about all your Sunday games. Mike Randle for Betting Pros. Enjoy the day, everyone.